Oh, there's a voice has spoken. Okay. Wow, it's been a while, but we're here. I forgot to bring a tie, and things are a little out of order, out of place, but we're here and we're doing it. Tonight's class is a very exciting class. It's all about blessings. We like blessings. I think we like blessings. Um, and the as I just mentioned to somebody here, I had a lot of fun preparing this class. So it's gonna be good stuff. If you'd like to sponsor tonight's class or a future class, please reach out to me, rabbi@jewisherie.com. Also, if you're at home and you have a charity box and you have coins or dollar bills, thank you. Take said coin or dollar bill, put it in charity box. You did a mitzvah. I would say pass it on the table, but they already did it. They went ahead. They're ahead of the game. Good for you. So we're going to start with our halacha, our Jewish law. We're learning the laws of washing the hands in the morning. Okay, so it says like this. It is proper to be precise about washing one's hands in the morning with regard to using a vessel. You're supposed to use a vessel, not just like, if there's a trickling from somewhere, to just wash your hands like that. Use water, and don't use chocolate syrup, and that the water be poured through human power, just as is required when washing one's hands before a meal. What does it mean, human power? For example, if you turn on the faucet of your sink in your kitchen, the water that's coming out of there is not human power. That's just from the way the pipes work. I still don't know how a sink works, but I was actually in a bathroom recently. I took my son to the bathroom, and he asked me, "How does the sink work?" And I said, "You know what? It's a great question. I have no idea." But the water that's coming out, the pressure or whatever is used, it's not from human power. It needs to be from the movement of a human being, which means that the first spurt that comes out of the faucet, actually, when you turn the handle, that actually is technically good for washing the hands. So if you kind of to go like put your hand underneath while the little thing that works. However, in a difficult situation, when the above are not available as desired, one may wash his hands from any object with any water, even if it does not come through human power. After such washing, one may still recite the blessing for washing the hands, which is al natilat yadayim, on the washing of the hands. If there is a river close by, or Lake Erie, it is preferable to immerse his hands in the river. This may be done even in snow. However, if no water is present at all, he should clean his hands with any substance and recite the blessing. It's a slightly different blessing. It's al nikiyus yadayim, on the cleaning of the hands, cleansing of the hands. This is sufficient to permit the recitation of one's prayers. Afterwards, should water and the proper vessels become available, he should wash his hands again in the proper manner. However, he should not recite another blessing. Very interesting, because today's topic is about making blessings. Okay. Let's do this. Why on earth is Judaism so obsessed with the blessings? And you're going to see how many blessings we actually make every day. It's quite large. Jews recite blessings constantly upon awakening, during prayers, before eating, and afterwards. Why the obsessiveness? Can't we do just one big thank you each morning and move on? So Judaism seems to be, throwing blessings left and right every second of the day. We recite blessings for an immense amount of our actions throughout the day. When we wash our hands, as we just learned, before and after we eat, after using the bathroom, actually, there's another blessing for that, and much more. Why are there so many blessings? Why isn't just one thank you at the beginning of the day enough? Are we robots blankly just repeating the same text that was written thousands of years ago? And what exactly is behind the precise text of this blessing? Because the more you actually analyze the wording of the text of each blessing, the more you get a little confused. Like, why does it say it like this? Maybe I would have written it differently. We're getting into that. So this class actually based on a talk from the Lubavitcher Rebbe from the last day of Pesach, of Passover, 1971. Okay. So we're starting section A. If you have the sheets, if you're watching on YouTube, wherever it is, it's on section A. It's a page, actually, page numbers might be a little off, but section A, why we bless. So we're starting with source 1. This is a few verses from this week's Torah portion, the portion of Kedoshim. Leviticus 19:23 to 25. When you come to the land and you plant any food tree, you shall surely block its fruit from use. It shall be blocked from you from use for 3 years, not to be eaten. And in the 4th year, all its fruit shall be holy, a praise to the Lord. And in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit. Do this in order to increase its produce for you. I am the Lord, your God. So this week's Torah portion contains a tremendous amount of mitzvahs, of commandments. This is one of them. This is actually a very fascinating one. Not very well known. So it's really 2 mitzvahs rolled into one. The first one is called Arla. Arla. Arla means stuffed up, stopped up, blocked. Basically, when you plant a fruit tree and within the first 3 years it produces fruits, those fruits are, how do I say it? The same way a Jew is forbidden to eat pork, they can't eat these fruits. They're just equally as forbidden. I mean, there's slightly different connotation to each one, but they're just as forbidden. They can't be eaten. The 4th year has a special status. It's called in the halachic or the Torah language, it's called neta revai. The 4th year, basically, the fruits may be eaten, but they have to be eaten specifically in Jerusalem. They can't be eaten anywhere else. A certain level of holiness to them. And in the 5th year, the following year, the fruits become 100% totally permitted to eat. Okay? Why? Seems a little bit interesting. So we have a great sage from yesteryear, a little more than yesteryear, the Nachmanides. Ramban, he's known as. You see him source 2. So in his commentary on the Torah, on these verses, he explains a reasoning for the mitzvah, which is quite interesting. He says, the reason for the commandment, both the prohibition of the first 3 years and the sanctification of the 4th year, is to honor God with the first of all of our crops, the first of the fruits of the tree and the grapes of the vine. Therefore, we do not partake of them until 1 year's crops are brought before God. The first 3 years, however, are unsuitable for sanctification due to the small size of its yield, and because the tree does not give forth a good smell and taste at the start. Most trees don't bear fruit at all until the 4th year. We therefore wait, and we do not partake of them until we bring a yield of good fruits to be sanctified before God at Jerusalem, and there we eat the fruit and praise God. The commandment is similar to the commandment of the first fruit, when one brings the first and the best of his crop on the Shavuos festival. Right, so it's a very interesting reasoning he gives, that when you have a fruit-bearing tree that starts bearing fruit after you planted it for the first time, those fruits are supposed to be a gift to Hashem, a gift to God. But the first 3 years, the fruits aren't really in the best possible state to be a suitable gift, so they're forbidden. The very first fruit that you can give is in the 4th year. That's when they're good fruit, and they have to be eaten in Jerusalem, like I said. In the 5th year, now you can partake of the fruit yourself without any restrictions. Okay. Says Maimonides in source number 3, Maimonides, Rambam, from the Laws of Blessings, chapter 1, laws 1 and 2. The Torah commands us to bless God after eating satisfying food. As it says in Deuteronomy, when you have eaten and are satiated, you shall bless God your Lord. In addition, the rabbis ordained that we recite blessings before partaking of any food. Similarly, when smelling a pleasant fragrance, one should recite a blessing and then derive pleasure from it. Anyone who derives benefit from this world without reciting a blessing is considered as if he misappropriated a sacred article. The rabbis also ordained that one should recite a blessing after eating or drinking anything. Yeah, so Maimonides is basically explaining there's really only practically there's one main mitzvah from the Torah that we have to make a blessing. That's after we eat satiating food, and we're satiated, we're full. Usually this bread, okay? After eating bread, we are required to bless and thank God for the food that He gave us. The sages added that we should also bless God for after any food that we eat and before any food that we eat. Not just that, they even extended it to smells, a good, pleasant smell, which is why by Havdalah, after Shabbos, if you look, there's spices that we have. So we make a blessing on before we smell those spices. The reason is because we're smelling something and it's a good smell. So before we partake of enjoy that smell, we have to make a blessing. It's a good question. I would imagine that that's also in the same category. It might be a slightly different blessing than what you do on after Shabbos, but I'm not 100% certain. But I would imagine it's a similar thing because it's a pleasant smell. Yeah, and if somebody partakes of food in this world without making a blessing, the sages kind of consider as if they're stealing from God. So let's see the sources for this inside. Source 4. This is from the Talmud Tractate Brachot, page 35a. So the source first for the source of the enactment of the sages. Rabbi Akiva said, "A person is forbidden to taste anything before he recites a blessing." The sages taught in a Tosefta, one is forbidden to derive benefit from this world, which is the property of God, without reciting a blessing beforehand. One who derives benefit from this world without reciting a blessing is considered as if he misappropriated sacred articles of the temple. Yeah, so this is the earliest source. Rabbi Akiva, who introduced this idea, he taught this idea that one can't eat before reciting a blessing, and doing so is like stealing from the holy temple, from Hashem's property. So the Talmud expands on this with a few more statements. Rabbi Yehuda said that Shemuel said, "One who derives benefit from this world without a blessing, it is as if he enjoyed objects consecrated to God. As it is stated, the earth and all it contains is the Lord's." Rabbi Levi raised the contradiction. It is written, the earth and all it contains is the Lord's. And it is written elsewhere, the heavens are the Lord's, and the earth he has given over to mankind. So there's clearly contradiction with regard to whom the earth belongs to. So Rabbi Levi answered this contradiction. He said, this is not a difficulty. Here, the verse that says that the earth is the Lord's refers to the situation before a blessing is recited. And here, where it says that he gave the earth to mankind, refers to after a blessing is recited. Very interesting. Yeah. One verse says the world belongs to God. One verse says the world belongs to people. So, what is it? He explains that there's no contradiction. We're talking about two different, I don't want to say time periods. They're like moments after one another, but the two different stages. Stage one is before one recites a blessing on a food. Then the earth belongs to God. The world belongs to God. After the person partakes of the food, God gives the person permission to eat of this food. So the Talmud continues to describe just how severe it views someone who partakes of God's world without reciting a blessing. Rabbi Hanina bar Papa said, anyone who derives benefit from this world without a blessing, it is as if he stole from God and the community of Israel. As it is stated, whoever robs his father and his mother and says, it is no transgression, he is the companion of a destroyer. The phrase, his father, refers to none other than God. As it is stated, is he not your father who created you? The phrase, his mother, refers to none other than the community of Israel. As it is stated, hear my son, the disciple of your father, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother, from Proverbs. The mention of the Torah as emanating from the mouth of the mother apparently means that your mother is the community of Israel. What is the meaning of the continuation of the verse? He is the companion of a destroyer. Rabbi Hanina bar Papa said, he is a companion of, I don't know how to read that in English. I'll just call it in Hebrew. Yeravam ben Nevat, who corrupted Israel before their father in heaven by sinning and causing others to sin. Yeravam, you see there's a little blurb on the side. I think you have it. Yeah. He was the son of Nevat, who was the first king of the kingdom of Israel. He rebelled against the house of David, dividing the Jewish people between his kingdom of Israel, which included most of the tribes, and the kingdom of Judah, which included the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. For the sages, Yeravam was the symbol of an evil man and is considered among those who have no portion in the world to come. Yeravam was exceedingly evil. Part of his main problem was that he sinned and caused others to sin. He proliferated idol worship throughout Israel. Source 5, Maimonides, going back to laws of blessings, actually the very next law. Blessings are not only recited on stuff that we enjoy benefit from, but they're also said on other things, like mitzvahs. So he says, just as we recite blessings for benefit which we derive from the world, we should also recite blessings for each mitzvah before we fulfill it. Similarly, the sages instituted many blessings as expressions of praise and thanks to God and as a means of petition. so that we will always remember the Creator, even though we have not received any benefit or performed a mitzvah. Right, so there's many different types of blessings. The blessings we make on food. There's blessings we make after enjoying the food. There's a blessing before we have a smell a good smell. There's a blessing we make before doing a mitzvah. There's blessings we make in the morning to thank God, to praise God for different things. There are blessings that are said on what do I call it? The physical phenomena in the world that are quite exciting, I guess you could say. A rainbow, an earthquake, the moon is renewed. Like Kedoshim. Even there's a blessing we make on the sun every 28 years. It's coming up in, how old am I? 13 years. In 13 years, we'll make that blessing again. And among other things, those are the main areas of blessings. So far we learned the simple reason why we recite blessings. To recognize that there is a creator of the world. And that the world belongs to this creator. Only when we recognize this point are we granted permission to partake of it. In the next section, we're going to delve into the secrets hidden in the wording of the blessing, which are, blessed are you, and so on and so forth. We'll see that. Any questions so far? I usually have post-it notes in the middle. You could write a question down. If you want to write a question down, I don't even put pens out there. Where did I put the pens? Anyway, just try to hold the question in your head, and we'll between each section, we'll ask you questions. Okay. Section B, the meaning of each word. So that was all Maimonides and the Talmud and the verses. Now we're going to see what the Rebbe says about this. The purpose of a blessing is to bless and thank God for all the good things he has done for us in this world, as well as to thank him for the commandments he gave us. We educate even young children who aren't yet capable of understanding anything that when they wish to eat something or even just drink a little water, they first need to recite a blessing. Blessed are you, King of the universe, by whose word all things came to be. Okay? But this raises a question. A blessing is a matter of the deepest meaning, as we're about to see. Even an adult needs to contemplate them deeply in order to understand them. Why then is it necessary to educate a young child in this regard? There's a lot of stuff going on in blessings, a lot of like Kabbalistic stuff as well. There's deep secrets hidden in the wording of the blessings. So why do we make such a point that even before a kid drinks anything or eats anything, they should make a blessing? Do they even really know what they're saying? So the answer is that Torah brings even the loftiest matters down to a young child. This is something that even small children need to learn to relate to, and their brain should work in this manner. So let's see. I think the Rebbe makes a total of 6 points here, if I'm not mistaken. 6 points. 1, requesting permission. So to be more specific, each blessing begins with the word in Hebrew baruch, which is related to the Hebrew word mavrich, to channel, to layer a vine branch through the ground to sprout a new vine. Right? So there's I don't know if it's done nowadays, but in times of the Mishnah, which is close to 2,000 years ago, there was a form of manner of planting called havracha, which is basically you take a vine or like a long thin branch from a tree, I guess, and you would take the vine and you would bring it down and put it and bury it in the ground so that it would sprout a new vine. So that is called mavrich or havracha. The root of the word is the same word as baruch, which means blessing or bless. And the idea is, as explained in Chassidus, that's what a blessing actually does. A blessing draws spirituality, godliness from above down to this world below. It pulls it down, schleps it down, as we see. The meaning of this is that whenever we wish to enjoy something in this world, it must first be brought down from above. As the Talmud teaches, one who derives benefit from this world without a blessing, it is as if he enjoyed objects consecrated to God. And it is as if he stole from God in the community of Israel, as it is stated, whoever robs his father and his mother, the verse states that the earth and all it contains is the Lord's. The contradictory verse, the earth he has given over to mankind, is only true after a blessing is made. We just learned this. We say this even to a child. He also needs to know that before he enjoys anything, he needs to ask permission from God and, quote unquote, draw it down into this world. 2, straight talk. The next word in the blessing is you, Baruch atah, blessed are you. What's you? Even a child turns to God directly in the second person, because even a child needs to know that God is present near him. God isn't in the seventh heaven, and not just on the Holy Land, not even just in the next room. Something that can't be seen directly isn't referred to in the second person as you, but in the third person as he. But God is present in the same room as the child, near him, face to face. Even if someone is in the same room but is behind the person and not face to face, he can't be addressed directly as you. Third point, the eternal God. So we then continue to identify you as God using the, I might pronounce this wrong, tetragrammaton. Good enough? Yeah, passes. That is the ineffable name of God, which is printed. It's written in the Torah scroll hundreds of times. It's spelled. It's 4 letters. It's a letter Yud followed by a letter Hey, a Vav, and a Hey in the Hebrew alphabet. I would say we're not allowed to pronounce it, which is true. We're not allowed to pronounce it the way it's actually written, but we also don't know the true pronunciation of it. They pronounce it in the temple at certain times, but we read it slightly differently. We read it differently nowadays. But we give God an identification, a name tag, so to speak. We call him with this name. The Zohar explains that the tetragrammaton means he was, he is, and he will be. That's like the meaning of it. Meaning that God is eternal, unlike all worldly matters that are temporary. The Kabbalists also explain that the tetragrammaton is related to the word for forming, that God is continually forming everything. When a child wishes to drink a little water, we use the opportunity to teach him that God is present with him in the same room, and he is therefore addressed directly as you and not he. He is also told that while he drinks the water, God is creating everything, not just this world, but all of the worlds. Four, the source of our strength. The next word, you must also know that this Lord is our God. So blessed are you. And the next words are this name that we just mentioned, and Elokeinu. Elokeinu means our God. That's how we simply translate it. As explained in the Code of Jewish Law, the name Elokim means powerful and capable. When we say the same word, but we add nu at the end, when we say Elokeinu, it means our God. We mean that he is our power. We are telling the child that before he drinks water, he needs to know that all of the powers and abilities he, his parents, and all of the people have come from God. 5, he is intimately involved. We continue that God is the king of the universe, Melech HaOlam, king of the universe. This is in contrast to those that say that God is exalted and transcends the world, and that after creating the universe, he is confined to the 7th heaven. Rather, God is in the universe as its king. A king has complete control. No one moves their hands and feet without the king's permission. A child must know that God is the king of the universe and everything is subservient to him. And 6, finally 6, he made it all. The blessing on water then concludes, by whose word all things came to be. While other blessings have different conclusions, this one, shahakol, which ends off shahakol niya b'dvaro, is a general blessing. If a person accidentally recites this blessing for any other food, he is considered to have fulfilled his obligation. With these words, we explain that everything was made by God. Even if something appears to have been made by man, it is only an illusion. In fact, they exist only by God's words. So just an interesting quick idea was that we just said, so there's different blessings for different foods. There's a blessing for wine, which you hear on Friday nights, you come to the house. Bore pri hagafen, and there's also a blessing for bread. There's also a blessing for fruits. There's a blessing for baked goods that aren't bread. And then there's a blessing for everything else. Okay. This blessing for everything else, because the wording of it is by whose word all things came to be. All things came to be. If someone accidentally said this blessing on any food item, they fulfill their obligation. They said the blessing. It's done. Whereas if somebody made the blessing for wine on bread, they need to say the appropriate blessing afterward. The wrong blessing. Whereas this blessing, if they said it on any food item by accident, they're good to go. The cake would be bore mine mezonos. Yeah, you got it right. If you said shahakli, you'd be fine too. You have me scared for a second. No. Is the cake good? Excellent. Fantastic. I didn't bake it. um, my wife takes all the credit. I want to like highlight a point here, but I'm not sure how much time we have on this. No, we'll talk about it briefly. So regarding this verse that we keep mentioning a few times already, the heavens belong to God and the earth is for mankind. So it's explaining to Hasidus that there are people who think, this is a statement made by people who think mistakenly. There are people who feel, and maybe they don't consciously think it, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling that God is in the heavens and the earth belongs to mankind. What does that mean? This is a deeper explanation of this verse. That God created the world and he walked away, so to speak. He's holy, he's exalted, he's up there. He's not interested in what's going on down here. And there were, philosophers of back in the old days that felt that God doesn't even know what's going on in this world. Not because he's not great, but he's not all-knowing, but it's too low for him. Do you know what's going on in the bottom of your garbage can in the middle of the night? No, it's just not relevant to you. This is a big mistake. This is not correct. The reality is that God is present. He's in the seventh heaven. He's in the sixth heaven too. He's in the first heaven. He's in this world as well. He's everywhere. Not that his knowledge is everywhere, that he knows, he's aware of everything that's going on all layers of existence, but he's present in all those layers. He's present everywhere. In fact, even more, if he wasn't present there, the thing couldn't be. If God was not present right here in this space where this microphone is, there wouldn't be a microphone here. And so is everything else. Our problem is that we just don't see that. Okay, section C. Channeling. Were there any questions? You wait, don't forget. Channeling. The most central element, an incredible concept, is that even a child can bring God down, to bless and praise God. As the verse states, lift your hands in the holy place and bless God, and draw godliness down into this world. Even a child. Thus, a blessing is an end in and of itself, not just a necessary requirement before enjoying something or observing a mitzvah. The blessing has independent value. Bring godliness down into this world. So according to Hasidus, a blessing represents the basic purpose of a Jewish person. The purpose of the Jewish people is to be a testimony to the existence of God, to reveal a holy and transcendent reality. The climax of this role takes place through reciting a blessing. Why? Because the Hebrew term for world, which is, anybody know? We said it a few minutes ago. Oh, very good. Olam, yep. Olam also is grammatically related to the word in Hebrew helem, which means concealed, concealment, hidden. The world conceals the fact that God created everything. God created this existence, and he pulled the biggest illusion in history. David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear. That's great. Small potatoes compared to this, which is God created a universe, and the universe doesn't leave any trace that there's a creator. God hides himself completely. The blessing pulls back the curtain and declares who made these. When a Jew takes a glass of water and says this blessing, shahakol, he declares that the cup is not what it seems to be. It is not a natural glass of water that was created somewhere thousands of years ago or has always existed for no reason. It's really a part of God's world. It's a wonderful gift from his hand. And so, throughout the day, the Jew repeatedly uncovers God throughout the world. From the morning blessings, when he acknowledges his personal blessings, through the prayers where he mentions nature and the celestial bodies, and to his natural reply to someone who asks, how's life? The answer is, thank God, doing well. A Jew is God's advertising agent in places where he seems concealed. Isn't that weird? God's advertising agent. Let's see source 6. Source 6 is from a book called Torah Or. And the question naturally is, Torah or what? Okay, it's not or like this or that. It's or, which means light in Hebrew. Torah or, the Torah of light. This is a book of Chassidus from the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad. So the sages instituted that one should bless God before performing a mitzvah, reciting Baruch Atah, blessed are you. Because the Hebrew word Baruch is from the word mavrich, channeling, from the concept in which one layers a vine branch through the ground to sprout a new vine. This symbolizes the channeling of blessing, where my text says oof blessing, okay, from the spiritual worlds to our world. Therefore, it is written by Joseph that, quote, they called him Avrech. Avrech is a similar word. Because Joseph was the righteous man who connected them with and channeled blessings from a higher spiritual world. The point of this blessing is to channel from and connect us to a higher world, revealing the king of the world, in order that God's kingship be evident to all. Yeah, so as I explained, the word blessing means to channel and connect, to draw down. For example, when Eliezer was the servant of Abraham, and he went to faraway land to go fetch a wife for Abraham's son Isaac. He found Rebecca. Okay, and he came with a bunch of camels. So it says that he found Rebecca, and he brought the camels to a well so they could drink. And the camels lowered themselves. Or Eliezer, he lowered the camel's legs so they could bend down to drink water from the well. It says Vayavrech es hagmalim. He brought down the camels. It's the same word, Vayavrech. Yeah, so this is exactly what a blessing is. It's a revelation of God's presence in the world. Can you imagine the impact you can have on a person? When you're sitting and you have a cup of water and you're having a conversation about, baloney, whatever it is, and you stop, you say, give me a second, you make a blessing. He doesn't understand a word you're saying. It's Hebrew. You can say a blessing in English, by the way. If you understand English and you're happier with English, say it in English. And you drink it, he goes, what was that? Have you ever seen a person just stop what they're doing before they were about to drink something and suddenly they say these words and they drink it? Did you just put a magic spell on that water? No, I said a blessing. I was thanking God for the water. I'm telling you, it'll make the guy's day. He will get such a kick out of it. And it have such a positive impact on ourselves and other people around us. There was a story. David Chase, he was I think he passed away. He was a multimillionaire. He was a Jewish guy. I don't know what he did. I think he was involved in banking. I'm not Chase Bank. It's not Chase Bank. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Chase Bank, although that's his name. And there's a famous story about him that he was one time on a boat. He had a private boat. And he had started, putting on tefillin. Actually, the Rebbe had encouraged him to put on tefillin. The story with that was that the Rebbe said you should, somebody who's involved in calculation and numbers, you should put on tefillin, and because when you put tefillin on the arm and the head, it actually helps clear the mind somewhat, so it'll help you think clearer throughout the day. So he said, Rebbe, I can't commit to putting on tefillin every single day. The Rebbe said, you don't have to do it every day, just 6 days a week. We don't do it on Shabbos. And he started putting on tefillin. So he was one time on this boat, and he asked his captain, who wasn't Jewish, which way is east? So like any good captain, he immediately pointed towards east. He knows exactly where east was. Thank you. And he went back to what he was doing. And the captain was like, wait a minute. I'm, driving this boat. He's not. What does he need to know which way east is? So he saw that he was doing something. So after he was finished, he said, why did you need to know where east was? He said, oh, because, as a Jew, we pray toward the east, toward Jerusalem. So I was praying, so I needed to know which way east was. The guy was blown away. He was literally blown away. He could, okay, not literally, but he was blown away. I just heard recently, literally, we use literally, and the meaning of the word literally is actually not literally. You ever thought about that? So going further. 100 per day. This point is clear from the sage's enactment that a person must make 100 blessings every day. Whoa. Yes, we're required to make 100 blessings every day. How on earth do you pull that off? So during the week, it's actually quite simple if you're following along with the prayers. In order to complete this number on Shabbos, a person must go out of his way to derive benefit from the world. We'll explain this all in a second. This shows us that even regarding blessings made for enjoying worldly matters, the blessing isn't just a prerequisite for eating the fruits. Eating the fruit is for the sake of making a blessing. Thus, the simple act of saying a blessing thus contains the entire concept of Torah education and man's service of God. It's a very interesting thing. What we've learned till now is that before you eat something, you need to make a blessing. The true reality is the food is really just an excuse for the blessing. The blessing has to be said as a prerequisite in order to eat. But the reality is that in order to make a blessing, you have to eat. There's actually a story, another story. There was a great holy man. I forgot who it was. It was probably 200 years ago, 150 years ago. And when he was a child, they say about the holy people, even when they're children, you could tell there's something different about them. There's the special. So I forgot who it was, and he, I think I'm confusing two different stories actually, but this story was actually the point I wanted to make. But I'll say the story anyway. He said he wanted an apple. Okay. His father said he's not giving him an apple at the moment. He said, "I want an apple." So give him no. So what did the kid do? The kid was smart. He made a blessing on an apple. Now the rule is in Jewish law, you can't just willy-nilly make a blessing. You can only make a blessing on food if you're going to eat the food. If a person makes a blessing and they don't eat the food, it's a blessing in vain. So he made the blessing. So his father said, "Hey," he grabbed the apple and gave him the apple. That wasn't the point I wanted to make. I don't know why I said that story. I guess I had to say it. Fine. So where did this idea of 100 blessings come from? So let's see, source 7, the Torah, which is kind of like the, let's call it the blueprint of the Code of Jewish Law. The Torah tells us the story that caused King David to institute the rule that every Jew must recite 100 blessings every day. So it says, Rabbi Natronai, the head of the rabbinic school in Mata Mechasya, said, King David, peace on his name, initiated 100 blessings to be recited every day. This is because there came a point where many Jews in Israel were dying, and David was unaware as to why it was happening until it was revealed to him by divine, it says intervention, but it's supposed to say inspiration, and he then instituted the 100 blessings for Israel. So on a weekday, if you follow along the 3 daily prayers, it's relatively easy to get to 100 blessings. The Amida, well,
were the people dying because 100 blessings were not being said, or was there a different reason that was resolved by saying 100 blessings?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, that's King David.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a detail left out here. I think it says that actually there were 100 people dying every day. Yes, 100 people. I don't know why it doesn't say it in English. I don't know. So the number of blessings, yeah. The Amida, which is the main, prayer that we say every day, we say it 3 times a day. The Amida contains 19 blessings. Actually, the another name for the Amida is Shmona Esrei. That's what people call it. Shmona Esrei literally means 18, but there's 19 blessings. Go figure. So the Amida has 19 blessings. You say it 3 times a day. Morning service, afternoon service, evening service. That's 57 blessings. And in combination with other blessings in prayer and food blessings and going to the bathroom, it's fairly easy to get to 100. On Shabbos, things get more difficult because on Shabbos, you pray 3 times a day, well, really 4 times a day. But the Amida on Shabbos doesn't have 19 blessings; it has 7 blessings, which basically you lost 36 blessings just now. So there's tricks how to get around it. You're supposed to eat more. Actually, you're supposed to find more opportunities to eat to get more blessings. That's one the piece of advice that's given. Right there. Also, you have a meal and you're. No, I'm saying you have the Shabbos meal. You bench afterwards. There's 4 blessings by benching, by the way. And Hamotzi is 1 blessing. Kiddush is 1 blessing.
Keep eating.
Not to keep eating, but you finish. You bench. Now, next time you eat, you need to make a new blessing. So I'm saying, on a summer Shabbos, from when you finish eating until the end of Shabbos, you have could be 6-7 hours. There's plenty of time. But even if even if you just want to taste the food, you want to like, I don't know, dip your finger into honey and take a look like that. You need to make a blessing on that.
About timing though. Day starts at night, so like these blessings I'm saying on this cake, that counts for tomorrow, right? For tomorrow's full
Yes.
day here, yeah.
Yeah.
So this doesn't count for today's.
Mm.
Good thing I remember my first.
There you go.
Plenty.
Excellent. There you go. Right. So the Code of Jewish Law actually gives us advice how to get to 100 blessings on Shabbos. It says Code of Jewish Law, source 8. The solution is presented here. On Shabbat, when the Amida is missing a total of 36 blessings, one should fill it with blessings on fruit and smelling spices, right? So this teaches us that blessings are not just for obtaining permission from God to eat fruit. On the contrary, we eat fruit so that we can reach 100 blessings.
Doesn't the Havdalah technically take place like after Shabbos?
Yeah.
So then
That's not part of it.
separate, it's so separate.
Oh, no, spice. So that's talking about on Shabbos. If you have like smelling, nothing.
Separate.
Yeah.
Havdalah.
Yeah. So if you can smell spices throughout Shabbos, it's another excuse to have blessings, to make blessings. But you can't make a blessing and smell, and then immediately make a blessing and smell because you're still your nose has already been exposed to that smell, and it's not going to be as strong when you smell it again a moment later. I think if they say if you smell coffee in between, it kind of resets yeah. So we eat fruit so that we can reach 100 blessings. This is because the main virtue is the blessing itself by which one reveals godliness to the world. We'll finish off here. We explain all of this even to a young child. As soon as he or she is capable of saying the blessing, we give them the deepest concepts, and not as an extraordinary measure, but as a regular part of the life and education of a Jewish child. Educate the child according to his abilities means to give him all of the details from one side of the spectrum to the other. There's another point I want to make, but before I get to that point, anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay. So there's another important concept here why we're making blessings all day long. Besides for the 100 blessings, these are all technicalities in a sense. In a sense, they're important. We talk about Mashiach, Messiah, which is a fancy English word. The redemption. What are we talking about? This is a basic principle in Judaism. First and foremost, what we need to understand is that Judaism is very different than other religions in many different ways. One big way is that Judaism has a goal. There's a purpose. There's an end. End's not the right word. There's a goal. There's a purpose to what we're doing. We're not just, following commandments, being good Jews, and moving on. And we do this until we, just keep doing it. There's a goal. The goal is to transform this world, ourselves, and the world around us into a good and holy place. Okay. That's in a nutshell. There's a lot of different things it says about the times of Mashiach. Talks about all the different miracles that are going to occur, the revival of the dead, and many other miracles. It says that the world around us is going to kind of like, how do I say this? It says that if a person goes to take a fruit from a tree, the tree doesn't belong to him. The tree is going to, so to speak, yell at the person, "Hey, this doesn't belong to you. Don't touch me." It's like, oh, okay, fine. Like the world will remind us how to serve Hashem. These are all miraculous things, but that's not really what Mashiach is. That doesn't define what the coming of Mashiach is. Mashiach is the world becoming a good and holy place. Okay, which is a very realistic goal. And if you compare the world to the way it was 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 500, 300 years ago, to the way it is today, the world is a very different place than the way it used to be. The world used to be a very corrupt place, and the world still is a corrupt place. Let's not fool ourselves. But the general mindset, I would say, most people in the world is they want to do the right thing. Many people are confused about what the right thing actually is, but the general perspective is, I want to be a good person, which is a huge shift from the way it used to be. So part of making the whole world into what the way the words of the sages, a home for God, is that every location, every physical location in the world has to be impacted by goodness and kindness and permeated with goodness and kindness and holiness, doing mitzvahs, being a good person, educating people that they should be good people. Not just in one corner of the world, not just in Israel, not just in Australia, not just in New York, not just in Erie. It should be everywhere. If there's even one corner of the world that's missing this point, that's not Mashiach. It hasn't been there. It's not there yet. It has to be everywhere. Now, here's an interesting concept that talks about in Chassidus, which is that God doesn't want his presence revealed only in the physical space of the world. He also wants his presence revealed in every single moment. Time. We think of time like, something happens or you went about your day. What happened in the morning is done. It's gone. It's in the past. It is. The future didn't happen yet. Reality is where I am right now. Right? God's above time and space. He's present in every moment. So every moment is not a past or a future or a present. It's all right here, right now. I don't know what that looks like or feels like. I'm not him. But when we make blessings throughout the day, we are making those moments in time holy. We're making those moments in time holy. We said a blessing this morning. Okay, the morning's done. Well, no, that moment in the morning is a holy moment. That stays forever. That doesn't go away. It says in the book of Tanya from the Alter Rebbe that when you do something wrong, you do something wrong, and it has impact. It's still around. Even if you did it 5 years ago, it still has an effect on you today, until you do teshuvah. You fix yourself. But negativity dies. Negativity will eventually go away. Negativity doesn't last forever because negativity is not an eternal thing. Goodness and holiness, when you do a mitzvah, when you do something good, that stays forever. Even if it happened 10 years ago, it happened this morning, it happened 2 minutes ago, it happened when I was a baby. Okay, you're a little kid, you did something good. That goodness lasts forever. You can't undo it. It can't be undone because goodness is everlasting. An important takeaway, I think, from this class is just on the practical. We got to make blessings. As Jews, the Torah educates us that we should thank God for the food that we eat before we eat it. If you can, I would suggest to learn the various different blessings and to make them on the appropriate food, which can be a little hard right in the beginning, but at the very least to make the bracha of the blessing of shahakol, which we had in this class. If you want it, it's in the beginning of section B. So blessed are you. You can say it in English. The second paragraph of section B. Whether you're eating cake, you're eating cookies, with one prerequisite: the food has to be kosher. Can't make a blessing on unkosher food. If you're eating an apple, if you're eating a banana, if you're eating drinking water, those things are kosher. You can make the blessing. And try to pay attention to what you're saying and see how does it make me feel. Like you might be surprised, might be pleasantly surprised. Okay. You got a question?
Just,
Questions?
no, just one.
One question.
Bottom of page 8, it mentions.
Your 8 and my 8 might be different, but what does it say?
Sorry, basically, even to a child who needs to know that before he enjoys anything, he needs to ask permission from God to draw it down into the world.
Yeah.
Then it says, even if something appears to be made by man, it's only an illusion. It exists only by God's word.
Mm-hmm.
What I take from that, not maybe not more, is that food being from God, God gives it to us. It's not only physical nutrition, but spiritual lessons as well, and spiritual nutrition.
What books have you been reading?
Just-
The Baal Shem Tov says something very fascinating. Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, which is, you have to hear the concept carefully because sounds very strange. If I have a desire to eat food, I want to eat some cake, I want to eat a piece of steak, I want some water. The real reason why I have this desire to eat, I feel hungry, I feel thirsty. The true reason is not really because my physical body's hungry and thirsty. Deep down, the true reason is because my neshama, my soul, is hungry or thirsty, so to speak, for that spark, the godly spark that is in that particular food item, and has the desire to elevate that spark.
What I was thinking was, it's only an illusion, even the fact that it's an illusion, the perception, I would say even, is that it's not from man, it's from God, but the fruit is a perception, an illusionary perception, because it's not a fruit reading, it's imbued by God that we're taking it,
Right,
because God gave it.
right. I'll tell you two things that just to highlight what you're saying. There's a story, a CD that my kids listen to. It's a story tape, story CD. I grew up with story tapes. It's a story about Meckel the monkey. That's what the focus of the story is. Basically, there's this guy. He has a Jewish, a rich guy, and he has a Jewish tailor that works for him. Simple person, and it's before Passover, and he gives him his paycheck, and instead of his reaction is, oh, thank God for this money that I'm able to go buy stuff for my family. And he says, what is that you just said? And he said, oh, I thank God for the money that he gave me. And he gets all angry and he says, oh, he thinks that God gave him this money? I gave him this money. Who does he think he is? I'm going to show him. So it's like a week before Passover, and he comes back for his next paycheck. And he says, okay, I'm ready to get paid for, it's before Passover. I have a lot of expenses coming up. I'm looking forward to this. And he says, well, you don't need my money. God will give you your money. He slammed the door in his face. So he had a lot of trust in God, this guy, and he said, "No, he'll get it to me somehow." So this particular boss had a monkey that he played with. This is talking like 300, 400 years ago, probably. He had a monkey that he spent his time with. I don't know why. He enjoyed the monkey. I don't know. So this guy would sit and he would count his gold coins because he loved his gold coins so much. And what he would do is he would tap them on his teeth to see if they're, just to make sure that they're real. I don't understand these things work.
If they're soft enough, pure gold,
Oh, they will.
or another metal, it wouldn't give that weight, but like you leave a little like bite mark on it, that way it's soft.
Oh, interesting. I cringe when I hear that though, but like biting metal. Anyway, so the
Gold is softer than other metals.
right.
Not as bad.
Mm-hmm. So the monkey constantly sees him, putting these coins in his mouth. Not really putting them in his mouth, but so the monkey wants to do the same thing. So when the guy goes away, the monkey starts eating the coins, just swallowing them. And the monkey ate too many coins and it died. And the guy came back. He was so distraught. His monkey died. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. My precious monkey. He decides he doesn't know what to do, and he figured out a plan. He's going to get back at the Jew. So he goes to the Jew's house, and he's in the middle of his Passover Seder. He takes the monkey, he tosses it through the window, smashes through the window, and then scares the family half to death. And they notice there's coins falling out of the monkey's mouth. It's a bit of a strange story. I'm not gonna lie. But they end up becoming wealthy from these coins. But the money got to him, and the boss realized, oh my gosh, it's not really me. So just on a basic level, let's take this delicious cake for example. Yeah. So Mushki made this cake. Okay. What went into making this cake? Let's just think about it for just a minute. Before you make a blessing on a cake, it's just something to think about. It might take a few minutes. Sugar, flour, spices, water, egg. Yeah. God created the universe. He created the earth. The earth has this unfathomable, tremendous energy in it that God put there that allows things to grow and keep on growing and growing and growing. And the earth just keeps on producing trees and plants and grass and fruits and vegetables. It's crazy. The Baal Shem Tov actually said that the greatest scientists in the world, they could study the earth for millennia. They'll never get to understand to the true depth of how much resources are hidden in the world. So this earth, it produced the earth that God created, put the energy into it. He causes the wheat to grow, and he created water. Water's been around since day one. And the chickens are born from previous chickens, and they're all being sustained from the earth. The chicken. And the what do you call it? The chicken gets its sustenance from the earth as well, and it lays an egg. Then we have eggs. And the spices also come from the earth. And what other ingredients we say? Flour, we got that. Sugar also is the sugar canes. It's all from the energy that God puts into the earth. And there's all these people that come together to get to process these ingredients. There's the farmer who cuts down the wheat, and I'm sure the farmer nowadays is not a guy with a straw hat and a straw in his mouth, rather a guy with heavy machinery, and he chops down thousands of pieces of wheat, per minute. But I can't do that. I don't know how to be a farmer. God did not give me the talents to do that. God gave these individuals who are farmers, give them the know-how and the ability that they should have the right characteristics, the right talents that they should be able to do this properly. And so too is the other things. The guy who processes the sugar cane, and the people who bring the water from wherever the sources they come from to get them to through the pipes and whatnot. All these people have certain talents that God gave them as when they're born, that they should be able to do certain things that other people can't do or have a harder time doing. And all of this stuff comes together to get all these ingredients. And you have the factory, which makes gets all the ingredients together to make a cake mix, let's say. And it finally gets packaged, and it gets brought to the store, and it gets packaged put on the shelf. And the guy who's packing the stuff on the shelf, he has the ability to do it. He has arms and legs, thank God. People who don't have arms and legs, and it's tragic. But this person, thank God, he has arms and legs, and God kept him alive till this point, so he could pack this thing on the shelf. And then my wife comes to the store and pulls. Actually, I pulled this off the shelf, and I have the ability, thank God, to take it off the shelf and bring it home. My wife has this incredible ability to bake things and to cook things, and in such a delicious way. And all coming down to sitting in front of us, so much went into this. And God is behind it all, making it all, running all the gears and the cogs. So it's just before you make a blessing, as you think about that, the more you think about that, you might be sitting for a piece of cake like this, you get lost in that. Anyway, we got lost in that, so we'll pause here. Wishing everyone a good night, and have a good Shabbos. Right. Oh, we're supposed to stop the recording, right? I was gonna wonder what's going on. Stop recording.